Hello, BookTube. It's Sunday and Ross is doing a tag again on a weekend. Why is that? It's because this is quite a time-sensitive tag and I'd really like to get it out there a bit in the next sort of 10 days. So I'm going to do it today in the hope that maybe some other people will do it on Tuesday, who I will tag, but anyone else who wants to as well. Because this is now get this right, Ross, the Jolabokaflod PDX Book Tag, which was started by Margaret Pinard. And what does it mean and why is it time sensitive? Well, Jolabokaflod is the wonderful Icelandic tradition of giving and receiving books on Christmas Eve and then going away and reading them. Which is why I've got my little friend here to help me with this tag. He's going to kind of get me through it in Christmassy spirit, because I usually refuse to get Christmassy this early in December, but it's got to be done. Now, Margaret is an indie writer, and she and another indie writer in Portland have a lovely project doing a kind of book fair come book festival called, after the Icelandic tradition, Jolabokaflod PDX, and it launches on the 18th of December. So that's why I'm keen to do this now and get it out there a bit more. And I will link to her channel and the original tag with all the information about this book fair come festival. But what it's for is it's kind of celebrating indie writers and small presses in her area, but the tag in a way celebrates them even more widely. So first question is the name. Okay, as in Jolabokaflod, and the question is, what's an unpronounceable word that you love? Because she loves Jolabokaflod and she pronounces it beautifully. Now, the word I have to choose is one that I didn't realise quite how unpronounceable it was until I chose it for my YouTube channel name, and that is scallydandling. So, scallydandling, I've realised, is hopelessly unpronounceable because all those lovely people who mention my channel from time to time always seem to sort of trip over it, and for which I apologise enormously. But it is a word that I love and chose for my channel because scallydandling is a Sussex word that means kind of larking around, going on a bit of an adventure, looking for experiences and fun, maybe getting up to no good. So you might go scallydandling about the town for a night out. But what I like to do is go scallydandling about the books, as you know. So that's my answer to prompt number one. Number two is the tradition. Obviously, Jolabokaflod is a lovely tradition. And the question is, what's a new to you tradition or a retelling of one that you love? Now, I'm going to try, with all these answers, to talk about books and things that have been in 2020 for me. And a new tradition, it's not a new tradition, but a tradition that I found out about properly for the first time this year, is Nine Night. So it's like a kind of extended wake after a death, when you go and you eat in the house of with the person that died, and it's about kind of making sure that their spirit kind of flies off successfully. I discovered it in the play Nine Night by Natasha Gordon, which Tilly and I read for one of our early discussing drama videos this year. Really enjoyed it. Retelling of traditional tales has been a bit of a theme in some of my reading this year as well. I've read several retellings of Greek myths, Simon Armitage's retelling of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, some lovely retellings of stories from around the world as part of my scallydandling. Why Goats Smell Bad and Other Stories from Benin by Raouf Mama was one that was tremendous fun. Another was Told by Starlight in Chad by Joseph Brahim Said. Obviously, stories from Benin and stories from Chad. And another is the most recent play that Tilly and I did for Discussing Drama, which was 1001 Nights by Hanan Al-Sheikh and Tim Supple. So, yeah, I've had a lot of traditional stories going around this year. Question number 3, the adaptation. What's an adaptation of something you love that was made even better or equal? Well, because I wanted this to be all 2020, the one I've picked is Normal People by Sally Rooney. Now, Normal People was not a book that I loved. I read it kind of late in 2019. I just didn't do it for me. I know people that love it, but wasn't for me. But in 2020, the BBC did an adaptation of it as a series that was actually darn good, and I really enjoyed that. So there you go. Question number 4, the mood. Jolabokaflod is definitely a kind of cosy mood sort of edition, isn't it? So the question is, the cosiest book you've read or expect to read this winter. The cosiest book that I expect to read is A Cosy Mystery by Charles Heathcote, booktuber Charles Heathcote, and that's An Heir to Murder, which a few other booktubers have recommended to me, and I've never read a book that I kind of consciously know is a cosy mystery, so I will find out what that is, but I'm sure it's going to be cosy. Another book by a kind of an indie press, a small press, that I'm expecting to be cosy and read this winter is Leonard and Hungry Paul by Ronan Hessian, which Brian at Bookish has warmly recommended, and that's published by Blue Moose Books from Hebden Bridge, and Hester Dunlop, who's a keen booktube commenter and a great reader, enthuses about that press, which is based in Hebden Bridge, which is her neck of the woods. Question number 5, the discovery. Who's a new author you've discovered this year that you love? Well, I actually discovered quite a few new authors this year. I do. I'm said before. The part of my kind of scallydandling habits, I suppose, is that I do tend to sort of seek out new to me authors. I had one real sort of hit new author early in the year, very early in the year, which was via one of my sort of scallydandle reads, and that was Kamara Leigh, and the book's The Radiance of the King, and he wrote it in 1955. He's from West Africa, Guinea Conakry, is that now? Yeah, yeah. And what a stunning book and an interesting author, and I must make sure I read some more things by him. More recently, a tremendously successful for me, new to me author was one I read because I've been reading German books along with sort of inspired by Britta and Mel, and that was Irmgard Coyne, and I read her book Gilgy One of Us. It was written in 1931, and one thing you will know about me is I love books by sort of British women written in that period, like the sort of early first half of the 20th century. That's a real enthusiasm of mine, and it was just brilliant discovering a German author that kind of hit the same heights for me, the same excellent, really recommend it, and I shall read more by her for sure. Question number 6, the setting. What is the deepest, darkest setting you've read about? Well, when I looked back over my 2020 reading, I realised I've read an awful lot of deep, dark books with deep, dark settings this year. Maybe more, I don't think more than usual, but I did realise it is a bit of a theme. I've been to the Dark Night of the Soul Out at Sea with The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge. I'm currently spending quite a bit of time in hell with Satan in Paradise Lost. I just visited a truly hellish reform school in the Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I went to a similarly dreadful Canadian residential school with Richard Wagamasi in Indian Horse, and I went to, yes, the sort of depths of the Burundian Hutu Tutsi war through the eyes of a refugee in Weep Not Refugee by Marie-Therese Toya, and that's just a few of them. Yeah, perhaps I need to make 2021 the book of reading cheerful books. And that takes us to the next question, which is the hot cocoa. Obviously in Iceland you should have hot cocoa with your book that you've been given on Christmas Eve. Should you? Yes, he says you should. I might stick to a nice cup of tea myself. So, what is a book that comforted you during a long night? Literal or metaphorical? Well, I'm lucky to be a relatively cheery person who doesn't have a lot of long nights of the soul, either in metaphorical sense, nor too many long nights awake, unlike some of my insomniac friends like Mark Nash and others. But earlier this year, I suppose, like the initial COVID-19 lockdown might be described as a long night in a metaphorical sense that I needed cheering through. And I did read some cheery books at that time. One that had me really genuinely chortling was One Man, Two Governors by Richard Bean. It's a play and it's adapted from an Italian commedia dell'arte play by Carlo Goldoni, and it was another of Tilly and my discussing drama project reads, and it was just the thing that I needed back in April of this year. In a different way, another thing I read in April kind of helped me get through those sort of what was probably quite a tough time, and that was reading or rereading The Hall Lantern by Seamus Heaney, and it was a lovely reminder of however grim things are, poetry can get you through. Yeah. Last question, number 8, The Gift. What's an indie book you'll be giving this winter season? So, the one that I think I'm going to be giving to people, if I can get hold of it soon enough, is Should We Fall Behind by Sharon Dougal. Now, that's another one by Blue Moose Books from Hebden Bridge. It's a great small press. And the reason I picked it is it's literally been published this week. But Sharon Dougal lives in my town. She lives in Brighton. And so I read her previous book, The Handsworth Times, a few years ago. And it was like a first book. It was good. But it was also one of those books where you think, I want to read the next thing that this author writes. And the next thing is coming out now and sounds very promising. So I shall read it, and if I enjoy it, I'll be giving it to others, because it's good to support a local author, isn't it? So who am I going to tag? I'm going to tag a whole load of people, because it would be great if a load of people did this before Margaret's book fair festival happens, because there's like good things to go and watch. They're all going to be live streamed and whatever, and it's So I'm going to tag Steve Donoghue, because if he were to do it, that certainly gets it out there, and I think he will enjoy these questions. Shawn the Book Maniac, I know he supports indie presses, as does Brian of Bookish. I've noticed him reading quite a lot of sort of indie press books, including London Hungry Paul. Hannah of Hannah's Books, just because she's very much in my mind at the moment, because I just read Unspeakable by her. Kim of Middle of the Book March. I don't know if she's a great indie press reader, but I've just been enjoying her channel lately, so why not? Charles Heathcote, because he's an indie author himself. Sarah of Hardcover Hearts, because I know she has a warm heart, as does Emily of Novell Novels, and Gemma of Read a Book Gem. All super warm and supportive people, I think. And Mark Nash, because I mentioned him earlier in this video, and because his books are published by kind of small presses, indie publishers. And another of the highlights of my year was reading a novel of his, Three Dreams in the Key of G. So, happy December, starting to get ready for Christmas week, everybody. And anyone else who fancies it, please do this tag. Oh, and go and join in with the Jolabokaflod PDX book fair if you can, especially if you're in the right time zone, which I'm not.